where we have finite resources and mounting waste as a real issue, that model, I think we can all agree, isn't really sustainable. Enter the circular economy, where materials, products, even waste find new life in an endless loop of reuse, repurpose, and regeneration. As we set the stage, I'd like to say a few words and introduce to you our session chair, because at the heart of a circular economy is a shift in mindset, rethinking how we reuse, how we repurpose and regenerate our resources, and guiding this very transition both in India and internationally is our session chair, Dr. Rachna Arora. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Dr. Rachna. With over 15 years at GIZ, she is someone who has worked closely with the Indian government, the EU, and even the German government to shape policies on resource efficiency, waste management, and recycling. Her contributions to Niti Aayog's resource efficiency strategies, her work with the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and the Ministry of Steel, all of them have played a key role in embedding sustainability into industry practices. I'd also like to extend a very special welcome to our speakers who will be joining us this session. Mr. U.V. Jose, ladies and gentlemen, a loud round of applause for the Executive Director, Suchitwa Mission, Kerala. Ms. Jyotsna Seethling, Member of the Advisory Committee to SEBI on Social Stock Exchange. Mr. P. Ponnaya, Director, Rural Development and Panchayat Raj, Tamil Nadu. Mr. Siddharth Hande, Founder and CEO of the Kabaddi Wala Connect. As we also take a few minutes to set the stage, I'd also like to remind all of us that we've had an interesting couple of sessions here on stage, and of course off stage as well. I know that we've had a lot of conversations, so setting the tone for a perfect day one at Tamil Nadu Climate Summit. This is the third edition and we're celebrating it with a very interesting conversation on circular economy and sustainable development. If I may take the opportunity to welcome our session chair and speakers to join us on stage. A warm applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our session chair and speakers joining us, taking us through what it takes to build a well-planned circular economy and how it can drive economic growth. Also, while we begin our session, we also have something very interesting that we would love to share with the Tamil Nadu Climate Summit audience. Especially this one is very, very relevant. It is the launch of a very special book, the TNPCB and You. Before we officially get into the book release, we have an AV that we'd love to play for you and showcase the journey that we have been on. If we may have the AV, please.
For over 4 decades, the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board has led the way in balancing economic growth with environmental preservation. Having pioneered continuous effluent and emission monitoring systems in India for more than a decade, TNPCB recently launched a first-of-its-kind integrated environmental monitoring studio, which tracks the air and water quality and the movement of hazardous and biomedical waste in the state in real time. Under Meenu Manjapai campaign, TNPCB launched Manjapai kiosks at Besanagar and Nilankarai beaches, creating community hubs. The Manjapai Brigade, along with the Blue and Green Brigades, is spreading environmental consciousness across Chennai, Ooty, Kodaikanal and Coimbatore. In November 2024, TNPCB organized the Eco Alternatives Conclave to promote eco-friendly options, and Eco Alternatives Directory was also unveiled. TNPCB also launched India's first discarded fishnet collection center at Kasimedu, turning marine waste into valuable resources. Under TNPCB's Kurungadagal scheme, over 14 lakh trees have been planted to support climate resilience. With the above initiatives, TNPCB is positioning Tamil Nadu as a global leader in sustainability and circular economy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, while we have our session chair and our speakers on stage to join us with the book release, it is with utmost privilege that I invite Dr. P. Senthilkumar IAS Avargal, Principal Secretary to Government, Environment, Climate Change and Forest Department to join us on stage. I'd also like to extend a very special welcome to Dr. Jayanti M. IFS Avargal, Chairperson of the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board. A round of applause as we welcome both of them on stage to lead us with the launch of the TNP-CB and U book. While they join us, let me also tell you that this prestigious book comprises of primarily the contents of the Environment Protection Act, Water Act, Air Act, along with associated rules and regulations, waste management rules, important CPCB guidelines, notifications, circulars to ensure effective environmental governance and monitoring. Ladies and gentlemen, we're also happy to let you know that this is the 7th edition of the TNP-CB and U, the 2025 edition, and this will serve as a ready reckoner for industries, public officials, and of course, stakeholders. If I may request our session chair, our speakers, Dr. P. Senthilkumar Avargal, Dr. Jayanti M. Avargal, to officially launch this very special book. Following this official launch, this book is also readily available on the TNP-CB website for download. If I may please request our dignitaries to remain on stage. We have yet another book that we want to include within our list. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Tamil Nadu Fishnet Initiatives, which is a step towards cleaner oceans. Now, marine plastic pollution, particularly abandoned, lost and discarded fishing gear, poses a very serious threat to coastal ecosystems and marine diversity. Recognizing this challenge, the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board has launched the Tamil Nadu Fish Net Initiatives to tackle the issue right at its source. This booklet also showcases the TNFI journey, highlighting the problem statement and the official assembly announcement. A very special thanks to our dignitaries on stage. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. This book also, ladies and gentlemen, details out Tamil Nadu's first discarded fishnet collection center in Kasimedu, Chennai, and a whole lot of other initiatives that we would love for you to get familiar with. So if I may please request you to access the website and download the booklets. Both these books are available for you to refer to. And with that, if I may hand the floor over to our session chair, Dr. Rachna Arora. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And congratulations to TNP-CB and the Department of Environment to two interesting launches that have just been made. I think I would like to start from where we left before the lunch. We had two larger sectors which were discussed when it comes to decarbonization. One, of course, addressing urbanization, mobility, and the other was about renewables and different approaches on decarbonization. Something when I see from this entire discussion is, of course, the transition methodologies to actually consider materials very explicitly and bring that out when you actually do these forecasting. Because when it comes to renewable energy, when we talk about wind, when we talk about solar, it of course is materials, and it also is an end of life, and it also is materials which you require when you actually make these products. And especially when it comes to manufacturing in India, a lot of rare earths, a lot of materials, lithium, cobalt, manganese, a lot of materials that you require, whether you move to e-mobility, whether you move to wind, whether you move to solar, you actually require these. And in India, we have a deficit. We don't have any of these materials in here. So I think that's why this session, which has been actually set up by the Tamil Nadu government, and this actually brings quite prominence especially because these materials that we actually talk about are actually 45% responsible for the GHG. So we actually can't remove the entire decarbonization approach. So that's why the low carbon transition approach and the circular economy discussion started, I would say, 15 years back globally. And that's where I think a lot of discussions on looking through a systemic change, looking at our policies, looking at industry, decarbonization, about how do you actually reduce material intensity, and how do you look at the entire discourse by not just doing recycling per se, because that's what happens a lot many times on circular economy. We just think about we recycle, so which means we are actually being circular economy. But that's not what circular economy is all about. It actually is on rethinking. It is about how do you actually reduce the consumption patterns and how do you actually make a transition, which is where a lot of industry-led models on remanufacturing, repurposing, all of this from 3 hours to 12 hours, we actually need to move in. And that's where a lot of policies which we have at the national level, a lot of policies and initiatives that we have at a state, even districts and now panchayat level as well, actually bring out these elements which bring innovation, which bring community a lot into the discussions, and also look at those transition pathways. So yeah, I think that's where I would like to ask all my panelists today, who come from very different fields and with a lot of experience, to actually talk about their engagements and initiatives. Yeah, so I would first call upon Mr. P. Ponaya. He is with the Ministry or with the Department of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj here in Tamil Nadu. And sir, in your posting, I'm sure you have addressed a lot of things which are at a community level. And when we talk about waste per se, a lot of things also come from a national level environmental policy regulations that happen. But it also looks at decentralized solutions, and this is where I think local governance plays a very critical role. So I guess you have a presentation, so it would be good if you can actually address some of these elements, that how do you actually bring the transition and community on the forefront and also bring in sustainability into these elements. So yeah, over to you, and would be good to have 7 minutes so that we can actually hear all the speakers and have some room for discussions.
Respected Dr. P. Sendil Kumar, Principal Secretary, Environment, Climate Change and Forest, Mr. Rahulnath, Director of Environment, Mrs. Jayanti, Chairperson, TN Pollution Control Board, and Dr. Rachana Arora, who are the panel leader here in the session, and Mr. U.V. Jose, and Mrs. Jyotsna Sitling, and Mr. Siddharth Khandai, and all the delegates in the hall. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers to include me in the panel for delivering a speech on this waste management. Actually, this is the state profile of Tamil Nadu. In this rural area, we have this 4.69 crore population in 37 rural districts, and we have some 388 blocks in which we have 12,525 village panchayats. The total habitations in the state is around 79,395, and these peri-urban villages, which are very near to the urban, that is corporations and municipalities, is around 690, and the hilly villages is around 278, and other villages 11,587. Next. This is the waste management model, that is decentralized waste management model in our state. We mostly concentrate on solid waste management and as well as the liquid waste management. Since unlike urban, this liquid waste management, we have some drainage facilities and others, and there is no necessity to have a underground sewerage drain kind of thing. Here, the solid waste managers pose the main problem in rural areas. So we concentrate on this. The solid waste we can segregate into biodegradables and non-biodegradable waste. Biodegradable waste, as you know, it will be done through home composting and biogas at household level, community compost pit, vermicompost center, and Gobardhan plant like that. And for that infrastructure arrangements, we have around 66,130 persons as Thuimai Kavalar. There are sanitation workers who will involved in the waste collection and processing. And Swajkariks, normally the motivators who will make the behavioral changes in the villages, it is around 12,500. And the infrastructure arrangements we are having around compost pit. It's a very simple compost pit where you can process the waste, solid waste. Then vermicompost units around 10,000. Micro compost center, normally it is a concept of urban where we have the micro compost facility center. It has been extended to the rural area also, it is around 287. Then we have the segregation cum storage, because whatever the waste collected, it has to be segregated, that is around 11,000 and odd. Then plastic waste management unit also we are having 355, and Gobardhan biogas plants around 125. Next. This is the process what we are having in solid waste management. Universal coverage is establishment of this through Thuimai Kavalar for this door-to-door collection, segregation and transportation, and proper safe disposal of solid waste. It is being established in almost all 12,525 village panchayat. Around 1,260 crores have been utilized for establishment of solid waste management in rural areas, and we have the all village panchayat have been provided with street garbage bin, tricycle, push carts, e-carts for collection of waste, and compost pit and storage pit, and one vermicompost pit in each of the village panchayat. And SWM facilities we have, it is being established through as I already said, Thuimai Kavalar, that is sanitation workers. Normally that sanitation workers only 150 per household, and they are being paid with 5,000 per month. This one important factor is the village panchayat normally the sale proceeds, 50% of the sale proceeds we are releasing to sanitation workers, to make Kavalars as an incentive. And this micro compost center also being established in bigger peri-urban village panchayat, and also in every village panchayat where the functioning of MCCs, we used to provide additional sanitation workers of 5. This is the solid waste management processing assets which we have implemented, that is infrastructure creation in the village panchayat. It is community compost pit. We have 3 pits, one for wet waste and one for dry waste, and vermicompost center, then segregation and storage shed where the segregation is being organized. Then Gobardhan also we are having this plastic waste management unit that I will explain in my next slide. This is the plastic waste management. Based on the announcement made during 2023-24, it is being used for the laying of roads. In the year 2023-24 alone, we have constructed some 1,850 kilometers of road by using the plastic. What usually doing in the field is, under the plastic buyback policy, whatever the collected plastic waste by the self-help groups or the Thuimai Kavalar, that is sanitation workers, it will be collected ₹10 per kg, and it will be pulverized, it will be made into segregates, and this pulverized waste will be given to DRDA for the contractors who are laying the road at the rate of ₹35 per kg, and they will utilize the plastic and they mix it with bitumen, and the road get laid. That is the process, and this way it is being introduced in the circular economy, that is completely eradication of plastic. Next. All the villages, all the 12,525 villages got segregated into category A, B, C. This is being done when our Principal Secretary Dr. P. Sendil Kumar serves as Principal Secretary RD and PR. And all the peri-urban village panchayats are categorized into B because it needs more attention for the wet waste processing. So door-to-door collection and segregation is being done on a daily basis, and the most attention will be given to the wet waste processing. And category A, it is completely rural in nature, where the wet waste processing will be done at the through home composting at the home level or at the community level itself. The dry waste collection will be done and it will be collected and it will be transported to the various places. And under category C, it is admixture of both A and B. There are a large number of village panchayats are there. There the collection of both wet waste and dry waste is being processed. This is this is the Clean Tamil Nadu company is the new intervention. This is a special purpose vehicle we introduced during the year. This is also a brainchild of our Dr. P. Sendil Kumar sir. And we actually based that Kerala model. We also visited Kerala and we studied the Kerala waste management company, that is the Clean Kerala Tamil company. And it is on a centralized manner, government formed this Clean Tamil Nadu company. The role of CTCL will, mostly it will collect the dry waste and it will be tie up with various agencies and it will be given to some cement factories and all. So, thorough processing of the dry waste will be done through the CTCL. Under this financial overview of CTCL, the local body will be compensated for waste item processing and they will release the value. And this collection of dry waste will be done by SHE members like Harida Karma Sena in Kerala. And for e-waste, it has been generated some various government offices and other private offices. A separate plan is there and a special GO is under implementation. So this will be collected on a specific day in a month and that will also be disposed safely. And this is the convergence of scheme we planned, we already in implementation by utilizing the Swachh Bharat Mission funds, 15 Finance Commission grant and MGNREGs. We have created all the dry waste management units. And this is the sustainable livelihood through plastic waste management. As I already said, whatever the plastic waste collected by the self-help group members or sanitation workers, they get it processed and this will be pulverized and it will be disintegrated and this will be used for road construction as well as for safe disposal. And by this way, the self-help group members also earning a lot. This is the entire sequence we are depicting, how it is being collected, how it is getting segregated, how it is getting pulverized, and how it is being used for the road laying. And this wet waste processing also made as a sustainable livelihood activity through vermicomposting. Whatever the wet waste collected, it has been used in the vermicompost units. And this also being done by our self-help group members. They are also, after selling this processed manure, they are also getting some financial assistance. They are getting normally around rupees 10 or rupees 20. They are selling the per kg of manure. They are selling it for rupees 10 or 20. And almost we have 10,000 vermicompost unit in the rural area. Nearly 100 metric ton per day is processing and is being made as manure and it is being sold to various farmers. And these are all some best practices of some of the district. This is one village in Mannivakam village panchayat that is in Chengalpattu. In this village panchayat, they have both micro composting unit as well as plastic waste management, and by this way they are getting make the environment clean and also getting some wages. This is another best practices in Karasangal village panchayat of Kanjipuram district. This is waste management, that is solid waste management is there, and grey water waste management. Investment impact also around in 2020-21, 5.64 lakhs has been created assets for liquid waste management. It is an integrated unit for all the waste management unit they are having. And this is N Panjamati is the another success story where the entire village panchayat and the self-help group members are especially involved in this plastic waste management. This is the
So just one
section.
more minute if
Yes,
you want to
yes,
close it
almost.
fast.
This is in Bargur district, where one particular village panchayat, they are successful in implementing biogas plant successfully, and they got it electrified for the local street lights and all. Though this is another plastic waste management success story in Ariyanendal village. So thank you. And this is the how our government of Tamil Nadu is implementing this decentralized waste management and make the village people to use it as a sustainable livelihood. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think you have to leave. I just have one question looking through your presentation, if you can answer that before you leave. So yeah, I think when it comes to decentralization, and I think looking at the model, you've actually clearly segregated into different components. Anything specifically that you used with the community to raise awareness on importance of source segregation, and what kind of measures, and how is this sustaining? Like what kind of measures are you actually addressing to, yeah.
Actually, ma'am, we have our own IEC program, that is Information Education and Communication Program, under Swachh Bharat Mission and other state this thing. And initially we, through self-help group members and these sanitation workers, we create awareness among the rural public to have a source segregation. Source segregation is the first item to be done. So we are educating all the rural households to make source segregation at the doorstep itself. And after that, we are collecting through our the door-to-door collection. We are collecting in a separate, that is two different parts have been given. So one for this biodegradable waste and one for non-biodegradable. So almost some 60 to 70% awareness is there in the rural village panchayats.
Right, that's a good number. Right, so yeah, I think that's quite interesting to see how rules get translated, because now there is also, under the new plastic waste management rules, every district panchayat also has to mention how much plastic waste. So annual reporting is to be done, and how the waste, and especially the models where you said self-help groups are engaged, it's actually quite interesting to see how it actually works. So yeah, thanks a lot for that input. Moving forward, I think since you referred to the Kerala model, yes, we already have an example here in the room, and yeah, on the panel itself. I would now like to invite Mr. U.V. Jose, who comes with a lot of experience on Kerala's public administration. He has worked on sanitation and waste management, and he was, after retirement, actually working very closely as the ED's Sucheta mission. So yeah, I think there's a lot of experience that comes now from the Kerala self-help groups and the decentralized models. Over to you, and sir, just try to be in 5 to 6 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And already decentralized model has been presented by Tamil Nadu. In Kerala, probably one of the state who is successfully implementing and practicing decentralized model for the last almost more than 10 years now. But we have a population of 3.5 crore, and we generate almost 10,000 tons per day waste, which is being managed by 1,034 local bodies, which has 6 corporations, 87 municipalities, and 941 panchayats. As the chair just now asked, we are also concentrating on segregation. The source level segregation is very successfully carried out in Kerala. Generally they segregate into bio, non-bio. Some of them further segregate non-bio into many, but we insist on bio and non-bio segregation. Non-bio waste is collected from every household. Every household now, the coverage is more than 92% in the state, including the rural area. We take the state as a whole. Not like only the corporation or municipalities, but the Grama Panchayats are also very much involved in the process, and the overall coverage is now more than 92%. And every month the Harita Karma Sena go to each and every generator, and only if they give good, well segregated waste, cleaned waste, only then they will collect. Okay, so otherwise they reject. And the rejection doesn't mean that they can do it. It will be reported. And therefore, very strict measures are taken, against the people who are actually defaulting segregation. So that is what. And by rule now, the user fee is also made mandatory. Therefore, it is for the people now. It is mandatory to segregate and give it. And we are actually focusing on community processing of the source level processing of bio waste and community level processing of bio waste, which are not really processed at the source level. Around 20% we are actually doing at the community level. The non-biodegradable waste are recycled after collecting, further segregated, and find out which are the recyclables and the rejects. Yes, bio waste, I have given the number, I am not going to detail. Mainly the composting, the people are actually going in the composting mode, but a good percentage is also going with the biomethanization mode. On the it is there in household level as well as institutional level. Also the community level, we have the number of composting facilities and biomethanization plants covering almost 80% of the bio waste which is generated in the state. Non-bio waste, it's very clear track, the cycle, the process is very clear. It is collected at least once in a month from every household, and from the other generator, commercial generators, etc. It's collected at least once in a week. It's collected by Harita Karma Sena, and they bring it to the material collection facility. There it is further segregated, it goes to RRF, further processed, and the recycling, recycling materials can actually go to the recyclers, and the others to the cement factories and the, the waste dumping yards. The MCFs now, it's actually now, you can actually see the number is almost 1,400 material collection facilities and around 200 resource recovery facilities in the state, covering the entire local bodies. Liquid waste, I am not going into detail. We have few STPs and C1 network, but we are concentrating fecal sludge treatment plant, FSTPs, and mobile treatment units to address the FSMs. Yeah, this is where I just wanted to focus. Now we are talking the circularity. Now the circularity here we are focusing. Even if the circular, within the circular economy, the benefit has to accrue to the local population, to the local community. That is the fundamental thinking of the government, and then that is why we are focusing on Harita Karma Sena. They are the backbone of the waste management system in the state. Around 37,000 Harita Karma Sena now, and 37,000 families are surviving just because of collection and segregation. And I'm very happy to inform you that more than 60% of them actually get more than 10,000 rupees per month. And in the people who are actually working, women who are working in municipalities and corporations, they are getting up to 30,000 to 40,000 rupees per month, just because of this collection and segregation activity. And the entire family is surviving because of that. Another example which is quoted by Mr. Ponnaiya is Clean Kerala Company. This is another best practices which is happening in the state. The Clean Kerala Company deals with e-waste collection, that is one side, but generally they are into the managing the forward linkage of the waste from the material collection facility and resource recovery facility. So the last mile thing to the rejects to the cement factory and the recyclable waste to the recyclers are actually managed by Clean Kerala company. They are managing almost 65% of the local bodies, and their waste. The balance is actually dealt by the private partners. Another best practices is on the Harida Mitram app, which is the app used by the Harida Karma Sena. They take this app to each house. There's a QR code pasted in each house, and they use the QR code. They use it, and then everything is whatever they are collecting. It is marked through the app, and that is how it is. The entire process is monitored. There is a control room at the state level, and there are control rooms at the district level. So we are able to actually monitor the activity day by day, and the coverage etc. is actually now we are collecting only data from here. So what is how much waste have been collected, where all it covered, etc. Everything related to the waste collection and processing is actually mapped through the Harida Mitram app. Yeah, green protocol, we are actually now insisting on into every event. Rendering plant is another successful story. This is for managing the chicken waste. There are around 40 plants now operational within the state very successfully. The special waste are being managed by different agencies. Hair waste, we have recently started a 5 TPD plant. Mobile treatment plants are there for managing the fecal sludge. The trash booms are actually installed in water bodies. Now to cover the bio waste which are actually accrued after the balancing, the overflow of the bio waste from the household level management is actually now we are getting into the community level waste to energy plants. CBG plants are being planned in the state, especially urban local body based CBG plant. One CBG plant at Kochi will be completed in March. Another 4 CBG plants are being constructed, and there are around 10 CBG plants in the planning process. Recycling parks, another concept which are being developed. Private sector is part of us, and we have the system of empanelment and approval by the Sujita mission at the state level, and the local bodies actually accept them as their partners. They can straight away use the empaneled agencies. So we have 37 private agencies for segregation and forward linkage. 100+ private agencies empaneled for managing wet waste. There are few in managing sanitary waste and C&D waste, e-waste, etc. A big campaign is being run now, led by Honorable Chief Minister, Malini Mukta Navakeralam campaign, which will be completed in March 2025, wherein we are targeting 100% door-to-door collection and 100% management of bio-waste at source and then at the community level. There is a single WhatsApp number is published now, and this WhatsApp number can be used for giving, for sending alert on any violation which anybody notice, like throwing of waste, etc., etc. Now the beauty of this number is that if we are actually sending a complaint and if the party is penalized, 25% of the money will be given as incentive to the party who sent the complaint. So it's very, very attractive. And we can actually, normal thing, the fine is up to 10,000 rupees. So 2,500 rupees one can get just by reporting defaulting.
So maybe just a few
Yeah.
seconds to close. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And we are actually now getting into a green policy which will encourage the private sector investment with a lot of incentives and legal support. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Now, I think one of the things that you actually very clearly brought out was about an inclusive model and inclusion of the women, of course, providing livelihoods, but also looking at dignity and access to waste. I think maintaining that is really crucial when we say the circular economy transition into. Yeah, so I'm sure there will be questions from the audience, but yeah, I think given the time, I would move to the next speaker, Ms. Jyotsna Sitling. Ma'am has been working as she's a retired IFS officer, but has contributed quite a lot as a PCCF, Uttarakhand, and a lot of initiatives and engagements on promoting sustainable development across. She's appointed as SEBI's advisor on a social stock exchange. So I'm sure you have slides, but it would also be good if you want to take a minute just to talk about the SEBI stock exchange bit as well. And yeah, over to you, ma'am. 5 to 6 minutes.
So, good afternoon. After food, it becomes quite difficult, but I will try my level best to, take the session forward. So, should I go for social stock exchange or this one?
Maybe as you move forward, I don't know how many slides are there, but yeah, given in 5 to 6 minutes.
I'll take this one for, first. So, whatever our honorable dais and distinguished audience, whatever I could hear from the dais members, whatever planning has been done, whatever implementation has been done on circular economy, till now it's more of a, an overarching state policies and how it's getting implemented. So I'll go to a very micro level, it's reverberating. How you off this one? Hello? Yes. Now, in terms of how it's taking forward, at a micro level, this is the case study of Valley of Flowers National Park. So, without going into details, what I would like to state here is, some of the places, they are highly touristic places. There is a great need of conservation, but at the same time, there's what happens is that there's a lot of conflict between livelihoods and conservation, and how community could be organized there. So this, my presentation talks mostly on multi-stakeholder partnership, sustainability aspects, and the larger impact for the state and the and the country also. So given this one, I'll just move forward. The challenges of Valley of Flowers National Park, there was a 13-kilometer access route between Valley of Flowers and Hemkund Sahib. It was common. And within the period of 5 months, 5 to 6 lakh pilgrims used to trudge. And it is the depletion of bioresources at 14,000 feet height. And the Valley of Flower National Park had the great potential to become World Heritage Site, but there was no management on the ground. So especially the international visitors went with very unhealthy note about the valley. So given that the community who were mobilized was in the form of eco-development committee, And first it was Maila Mangal Dal who came forward of 76 families, and how the community disciplining and community ownership came forward is that there were some 400 shops, and they were made to realize that these shops needs to be reduced to 76 shops only, depending upon the number of families. And the Eco-Development Committee formed by Forest Department was made responsible to lead the responsible tourism in the area. And Forest Department said that, yeah, we can give a batch stuffing legal support if you want. So I'll come to this Jilla Parishad later on. So as far as the sustainability aspect is concerned, the way I'll show a little bit later how the community came forward first through voluntary labor to collect some 50 tons of this biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste, and how out of that government came forward to help them to take some cess, and with that it is continuing till date. And this just gives the, you know, the type of eco-fee and whatever the solid waste proceeds brings as the revenue, and their expenditure, net income, and the type of solid and liquid waste they are managing for recycling. Now, given that when the stakeholderships comes, the stakeholders were Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee, the Sikh, this is the highest Sikh pilgrim in the world, and then there were Forest Department, Police Department, Revenue Department, and Panchayat was there, and villagers were there. So given that, you know, the equity concerns had to be seen very clearly, and it was Gurudwara, because the land was encroached, the place was highly polluted, and Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee was the largest, stakeholder who, with whom Forest Department had lot of problem initially, but later when they understood the things were done in a very nice manner, especially international Sikh devotees, when they appreciated, they agreed to work with Forest Department. So I'm just seeing, you know, how the community were mobilized. This is the initiative from 2002 to 2000, just 2 years initiative. Then how we mobilized the community at micro level of 2 villages. And with that poster, the Maila Mangaldan came first forward to give Shramdan, voluntary labor to pick up the waste. So this gives the, the heaps of waste, and there was 50 tons and then 15 truckloads. So I'm just going forward. The Vyundar village, then we train the local people to into a number of livelihood activities. Tourists used to come, then we organize the presentation for tourists to teach them how responsible tourism could be conducted, and especially we kept community at the center for managing all this basically. So this is the plastic waste sorted at that point of time. You can see the raincoats, you can see the PET bottles, shoe soles, and non-recyclable plastic about 9,000 kg was something it was very difficult to manage. Later on, somehow we found the way. So now I am coming to the learning part of it. At the same time, what happened was this was all, full of woe. Ultimately, since this Valley of Flowers National Park had the great potential to be considered as World Heritage Site, we simultaneously sent the proposal to UNESCO, and out of whatever we could do with the community from 2002 to 2004, in 2005 Valley of Flowers was declared as World Heritage Site. So at the same time, I'll tell about this mountaineering guideline a bit later. So this is something World Heritage 1. So from best practices to policy analysis, what happened was that, when the economic analysis of Valley of Flower operation was done, we came to realize after sorting everything, we found very difficult to sell the unsorted plastic. So we sorted the plastic and it is 63 rupees per kg it was coming. We showed to the government. Government came forward to develop many policies. The first policy of solid waste management. At the same time, from the distant place, what we are finding very difficult for, the overhead cost was very high. So government understood that, if plastic densification plants are placed in the remotest area of Uttarakhand, then the cost of recycling will come down. So given that 24 recycling plants were, not recycling I can say, plastic compaction plants were placed in different places, especially in Char Dham area, that really could help, to get the plastic sorted in the remotest area and bring down the cost basically. So, and at the same time, this mountaineering guideline is the first and the only of its kind of any state in India. So that mountaineering policy came in 2004 and it had 82 peaks at that point of time. So again I revised in 2021 and that has, the peaks have increased but it has maintained the same environmental forward. Whoever mountaineering team, they are going to the peaks, they have to deposit fund and claim everything they are taking to the high mountain area. And whenever they come back, everything is counted, in terms of what the amount of plastics and other waste material they had taken, and that security money is given back only when everything is brought back. So I've already told about, and these compaction plants are now managed through public-private partnerships, especially municipal bodies are doing that, and they are earning a good revenue. Now, basis of this innovation was facilitation of democratic process and functioning of local institution. We told that we are at the backside for policy support, but it is you, community, you have to do that. Now the initiative reinvented governance process at the, it really helped us to bring the cost down with the support of the community in a difficult area through effective institution building and voluntary compliance of regulation by public. I think self-disciplining is very important. The institutional innovations involved practically showed that economic relations of locals can be evolved with the conservation realities of area. And the unique feature was 3 years, perceptible change was seen, all taken and they are sustaining till date. And grassroots innovations leverage a new value, as I've already told that. Now factors, what are the factors coming to, the success of this social innovation was government gave space to the local, forest officials to build participatory conservation systems, deploying an experienced NDBR manager who knew livelihoods and how to balance livelihood with conservation. Involving women was very important in the, that really helped us to take the movement forward. Effective program convergence with other departments, NGOs and international agencies really helped. And best practices were documented thoroughly and immediately followed for policy support so that government could also bring many, supportive policies for environment. Policy research of high quality went hand in hand with the innovative strategy. So this is all about whatever I had to deliver. And now I'm just coming to a few points. In terms of reducing the plastic waste and technology and pooling the resources, a lot of experimentation have been done. Some experiments have become successful and some have not become successful. So with the plastic waste that was gathered, government came forward to develop many more plastic recycling out of the, making the products like pipes and all. So that way the whole value chain has now been established to take the, I cannot say all, but some of the plastics of Uttarakhand to recycle the plastic to the logical end. So this is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Very interesting perspective when you actually include consumption and address tourism together, because I'm sure there's a lot of floating population who comes and disrupts the entire environment of a already quite fragile ecosystem. So very important and interesting case study that you shared. Yeah, I would move now to Siddharth. You have a presentation as well, right?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
so yeah, try and just, if you can keep it to 5 to 6 minutes. Yeah, I think Siddharth, I'll also quickly introduce you. He has been working for quite some years on decentralized models, and especially when the data question on solid waste to the informal sector was quite lagging behind. This is at the right time that you entered with your agency, Kabadiwala Connect. So thanks for being on the panel, and over to you, Siddharth.
Yeah, thank you, Rachna. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. Hi, everyone. My name is Siddharth Hande. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Kabadiwala Connect. We're a for-profit social enterprise. I'm a data scientist by training. So Kabadiwala Connect was really started on the back of mapping the informal recycling supply chain in my hometown of Chennai. So now we offer services that help integrate this informal recycling supply chain into the formal system. So just wanted to share a little bit on this. And also, I guess, the addition into this panel is, what is the informal sector doing as in the circular economy? What is their role now? And what could it be in the future? I'd like to add that into this equation because honestly, not just in India, in Indian cities and towns, but also very much in the global south, they are really on the front lines of the question of collection of dry waste and recyclable material. So the first starting point for me, I just want to kind of discuss is that in the global south, the question of municipal waste collection is kind of in crisis. There are a few factors on this because most of our waste is being generated by small and medium waste generators in the city. There's a World Bank study that says for effective waste management or waste collection in the global south, a municipality can spend should spend anywhere between 20 to 50% of their budget. So that just highlights this crisis that most of the waste that gets collected in our cities and towns is being sent to the landfill, and even that is too expensive. So like I said, one of the big issues here is how do you collect segregated material from small, in locations where there's a lot of small amounts of waste, but at scale, at an ecosystem level, it aggregates to the most. Chennai is a great example where 70% of our waste is actually coming from households, apartments, things like that. And so when we look at specific material streams, let's say plastic, you take this question of a lot of plastic entering our oceans, and we know it's from the global south. Really, it's kind of it's pointing at our waste collection system being in crisis. So really, plastic is one of the material fractions that's being mismanaged, hence finding its way into our waterways and landfills. So for us, the starting point and our belief really is that this is amazing opportunity to integrate this informal recycling supply chain. Because in this gap where the formal system, which is focusing on waste collection to the landfill, there's still so much valuable material. So ever since the 60s and 70s, on the back of paper and metal, you've had these stakeholders like waste pickers, Kailan Kades, these small scrap shops, Kabadiwalas they're called lapaks actually in Indonesia. Actually, most places in the global south have a name for them. We will call them something specific, they mean something to us, and we know we can go and sell it. So ever since the 60s, there's this supply chain that has emerged that's actually scavenging for this materials, this valuable stuff that we throw away. Informality, I just want to also point out, is not a peripheral issue. It's not just this aesthetic or this important social question that we integrate people working in the informal sector, but they are actually critical to our supply chains and businesses. There's a ILO study which says that more than 2 billion people are working in the informal sector, so they don't have access to health and safety, they don't have access to standard protocols that allow for dignified work. And the recycling system is a typical case. It's a typical ecosystem supply chain where you see a lot of informal work. So what we knew, and again, I always had this idea of I wanted to map every scrap shop and help articulate with an evidence-based approach, what were they collecting, how are they set up in the supply chain, how is it that so much material is actually being collected in the global south. And what we started off with was some key points. We knew that there was the waste picker. We all know this. There's a very key stakeholder who's going in scavenging, collecting. There's a study that says there's about 1.5 million waste pickers across India. There's another statistic that said that they were collecting something like 20% of the city's recyclable waste. That already is a fascinating question because it's a large amount of material. When you look at, let's say, a formal contractor working with a municipality to manage 20% of their recyclable waste, that's a multi-crore project. There's also studies that show that for every ton the informal sector collects, it's actually saving the municipality $328, about 25,000 rupees. And also the other thing we knew that is waste pickers make very little money for what they do. So in 2017, what I realized was that there was this big gap in the literature of who else was there. Apart from the waste picker, who else was there who was critical as a stakeholder in the informal supply chain? And my goal was, my lived experience also was, you walk the street, there's a Kailan Kade. In Delhi, they're called Kabadi Wala. So I wanted to map every single one of these shops and really understand how this material was moving ultimately to, was it a formal processing system? Was it an informal processing system? Again, my beginning point with waste was organizing cleanups in our beach, Besanagar Beach, and a lot of the beaches down south. And we realized that we were just collecting this material and it was going to our landfills, Pallikarna and Kudingyur. We saw also waste pickers come in, very industrially pick up certain materials. And this was really my starting point with waste management. And what we really found in this study over in 2017 was that apart from the waste picker, there was also what we called a level 1 aggregator and a level 2 aggregator. At least that's how we like to call it. So imagine the case that what we discovered, that there was waste pickers scavenging the street. They were then going to the small Kailan Kade, selling their material. These scrap shops were material agnostic. So they buy paper, plastic, glass, metal. We've worked with them successfully to collect low-value plastic. We've worked with them successfully to collect used cooking oil, for example. And these kinds of, they're really focused on the collection part of it, and they are extremely good at what they do. Then, depending on the type of material, they were sending it to these informal material recovery facilities. And again, here it's a key industrial pre-process where the big recyclers require material to come in bales or a particular pre-process that they were essentially supporting. And when you look at the map, and this is when I knew that we had something, when I show you the map of level 1 aggregators in the city, I mean, look at the number of shops that are there for us. Like, I could very easily be showing you a map of ATMs in the city or vegetable shops. So you can really see how over time they've come up to actually provide a core circular economy service for our cities. And then when you look at the level 2s, they're much more clustered. So you have a paper cluster, you have a metal cluster, you have a plastic cluster. And then materials are going long distances. So they kind of set up in these industrial areas next to highways, things like that. In Chennai, we found that they were collecting. So Chennai generates about 542,000 recyclable waste every year. They were already collecting 130,000 tons, 24%. A lot of paper, a lot of plastic, a lot of glass, a lot of metal. And in fact, and this is a study we did with GIZ, with the Tamil Nadu government, was when we looked at the wards surrounding the Adyar and Kuam river, our two major rivers, and we overlaid the scrap shops and looked at the volumes of plastics that they were collecting, you can actually see how much they're collecting. And we built this hypothesis that if you actually bring in large formal processors with stable prices, with clear incentives for this supply chain, there is a crazy collection system that generates. So look at PET, for example, in both the clusters. It's almost like in the wards across the Coombe River, there's 110 tons of PET being generated, close to 100%, 98 tons is being collected. In the wards across the Adia River, there's actually a surplus. From what is generated in the area, there's actually 188 tons that's being collected. And this is because India has a very strong PET to textile market. So PET is in high demand, and the textile is part of a global commodity. And so we always advocate with PP, with PE, with low value plastics, integrating the supply chain in the right way can drive incredible collection. Just a couple of points. What we focus on as a social enterprise, we're really focused on the rapid integration holistically of the supply chain. So we undertake projects for large recyclers, brands looking for offtake agreements, but also with research, policy, and government institutions that all support the mandate of this equitable integration of this supply chain. And yes, our really, maybe just the last couple of points, I think what we propose first in let's say, a theory of change, first you have to map them. You need to know who they are, what materials are being created. It's really imperative that we create these factual baselines of what exists already before we go in and intervene. On top of that, we realize waste pickers, small scrap shops, they actually not integrated well with social packages. For example, we have this project where we're working with waste pickers in Chennai, integrating them into the Chief Minister's health insurance scheme. The third is around digitalized procurement, so traceability as a key point, proving to the private sector that you can work with this supply chain. And the fourth, what we hope we can get to, is dignified collection, where a scrap shop and the waste pickers are actually organizing collection last mile on our behalf, going directly to the homes instead of scavenging. Yeah, and we're really tailored to the global south. We find what we learn in India is applicable in Sri Lanka. We have a project there. It's applicable in Hong Kong. We have a project there as well. So it's really this global south question, I think, that we're learning, and really how this supply chain is a key part of the circular economy, and they need to be rendered visible. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Siddharth. And yeah, if you look at the entire discussion that we have had, I think we are kind of closing the session. But something very, at least for me, a key takeaway is, of course, when it comes to circularity, we're not just talking about policies. In fact, all the four speakers actually brought out something very clearly which looks at decentralized models, and also looking at creating jobs and skills into this economy, bringing the informal sector into the entire, and in fact, a lot of examples actually was around solid waste management and plastic waste, more or less. We currently have the EPR, the extended producer rules, for across 5 different sectors, no? Or based, if we talk about tires, to batteries, to solar panels, to, yeah, I think oil, waste oil as well. So I think if you look at all of those sectors, there's a big informal economy that exists. And these models, of course, from a panchayat to a national to a state level, of course, differs. And everything comes with a lot of pilot, experimentation, the budget part. I think that came out very clearly through at least 2 of the case studies that we actually heard. So for me, overall, it was quite interesting. Thanks to all of you for adding any question that we have. I think we can still take one question. Yeah. Okay. Just, yeah, please. If you want to mention the specific panelists that you want to address, and yeah, you have the microphone, so yeah.
Hello. It's quite open to all the panelists actually. It's like, so I come from a startup called Out of the Box, and we focus on recycling cardboard waste and transforming them into durable furniture products. Our startup in circular economy. It's like in policies such as EPR, ma'am, there's very niche number of products that are focused only on, for example, plastic is included in EPR, but not other waste streams are included in policies like EPR. So how can policies like EPR and more other policy nudges can be more favorable to waste management startups in Tamil Nadu? And what other policy nudges do you think can be added to the existing policies in Tamil Nadu?
Sure. Okay. As a moderator, I would not like to answer that question. I can, but I would not take it up. I would like to hand it over to you, sir, if you want to mention about another question. Right. Okay. Yeah. So I think on EPR, of course, it's not currently a state policy, and I think as we heard also from the report that has been released, it's very well covered also in the current SWM rules, which is also addressing. So yeah, I think for a startup, it also depends how the different state missions can actually promote through a startup ecosystem or others. But otherwise, yeah, I think from the waste, they are actually right now looking at plastic packaging together. There are a lot of startups who are looking at different packaging solutions so that at least thermocol can actually be a clearly out product. So yeah, anything anyone would like to add to it? Okay. Thanks to all of you, and yeah, over to you. Thank you.
A very special thanks to our speaker and, of course, our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may please request our session chair to present our speakers with mementos, tokens of our appreciation and our gratitude. If I may request Dr. Rachna Arora to start by presenting a memento to Mr. U.V. Jose. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here. Ms. Jyotsna Sitling, thank you, ma'am. And Mr. Siddharth Hande. If I may also request Ms. Jyotsna to present our session chair with a token of our appreciation. While we bring that out, I have to say that it's been an interesting take on how waste itself can be transformed into wealth, and this particular session has been an illustration of exactly that, with a keen focus on circular economy. If we may have the memento be brought out. As we conclude this session also, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's a lovely reminder that whether it's a business rethinking their processes, whether it's, if I may request Ms. Jyotsna to present our session chair with a token of our appreciation. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Well, I guess what I was getting at is that every effort is absolutely vital. And on that note, we have something very interesting coming up on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest on stage is all of 12 years old. But if I were to describe her, I would say she's an unstoppable force for the planet itself. From planting 150,000 trees to inspiring thousands all across through her workshops and global talks at COP28, at TEDx, at G20, she is somebody who at 12 years old is already changing the world. She's been featured on TED, on National Geographic, and here at Tamil Nadu Climate Summit 3.0. We're truly excited to welcome onto the stage with a loud round of applause from all of us in the audience, Ms. Prasiddhi Singh. Good evening, welcome. If I may request you to say a few words. Check.